What is that doing in first class? Senator Rebecca Hartwell stares at the 12-year-old black girl in row. Do be like she's found trash in her seat. These people always try to sneak up here. Get her out. The girl looks up from her tablet, voice quiet. Ma'am, my ticket is here. I don't care about your little story. Rebecca's laugh is vicious. You think I'm stupid? A kid like you in first class? Your kind belongs in the back where you can't steal from us. But then her 11-month-old son goes limp. His lips turn blue. His breathing stops. Someone help my baby. The girl stands. I can help him. Rebecca's face twists with pure hatred, even through her terror. Don't you dare touch my son. We need a real doctor, not some ghetto child playing dress-up. 8 minutes later, the senator would be on her knees, begging that same child for forgiveness. 90 minutes earlier, Houston George Bush Intercontinental Airport, 6:15 a.m., Gate 23. United Flight 447 to Boston begins boarding. Maya Washington stands in line, clutching her purple backpack. At 12 years old and 4 to 9, she barely reaches the shoulders of the adults around her. Her father's grey hoodie, 3 sizes too big, swallows her small frame. Inside that backpack, 3 published medical research papers, an invitation from Boston Children's Hospital, and her father's silver stethoscope. Engraved on the case, "Heal with love, Dad." The gate agent scans her boarding pass. Her eyebrows shoot up. "First class, honey, are you sure?" "It's correct, ma'am." Maya's voice is quiet but steady. "Are you traveling with an adult?" "No, ma'am. I have my unaccompanied minor paperwork." Maya hands over the folder. Everything is organized. Everything is perfect. The agent studies it, then Maya, then the documents again. Her expression says what her mouth doesn't. "This doesn't seem right. Go ahead." First class is a different world. Leather seats, warm lighting, the smell of fresh coffee, only 8 seats total. Maya finds 2B window seat. She pulls out her tablet and opens a medical journal. Advances in detecting adrenal crisis in infants under 1 year. A white businessman in row 1 glances at her, then quickly away. An elderly woman in row 3 clutches her purse tighter. Maya pretends not to notice. 10 minutes later, chaos arrives. Senator Rebecca Hartwell sweeps in. Designer diaper bag over one shoulder. 11-month-old Andrew screaming in her other arm. Phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, Martin. The Boston Children's Gala tonight. 50,000 donation photos with sick kids. Good press." "Andrew, stop." "What?" "I fired the nanny. Too expensive." Andrew's screams intensify. Rebecca jiggles him, mechanically annoyed. She stops at row 2. Seat 2A, right next to Maya. Rebecca's eyes land on the small black girl. Her expression freezes, then sours. "Excuse me. I think there's been a mistake." Maya looks up. "Ma'am, this is first class." "Yes, ma'am. I'm in 2B. You're in first class." Rebecca's voice drips, with a condescension so thick it feels like a physical slap in the quiet cabin. The white businessman pretends to be deeply interested in his magazine. The elderly woman nods almost imperceptibly, as if Rebecca is voicing a shared suspicion. "I have a ticket," Maya repeats, holding it up, her small hand unwavering. "I don't care what piece of paper you have." Rebecca snaps, finally lowering her phone. Her son continues to wail, a background score to her cruelty. "People like you always have a story. A found ticket, a mix-up, something. But we all know the truth. You don't belong here. This space is for people who've earned it. Now be a good girl and go back to coach, where you came from before. I call the attendant and have you escorted." The flight attendant, a young woman named Chloe, had been approaching with a pre-flight drink cart. She heard the tail end of the exchange, and her smile became fixed, unprofessional, but her eyes darted nervously between the powerful, well-dressed senator and the child shrinking into the giant hoodie. "Is everything all right here?" Chloe asked, her voice artificially bright. "No, it is not," Rebecca declared, pointing a manicured finger at Maya. "This child is in the wrong seat. I demand you check her credentials and remove her. She is making myself and my son uncomfortable." Chloe looked at Maya, who silently handed over her boarding pass and passport. The attendant scanned them, checked her manifest. Her expression turned apologetic but firm. "I'm sorry, Senator, but this is indeed her assigned seat. 2B, everything is in order." Rebecca's face flushed with anger. "This is outrageous. I paid a premium for a peaceful environment. I will not sit next to this." She couldn't even say the word child. She gestured vaguely at Maya's entirety. Then perhaps you'd like to move to another available seat in first class. Chloe offered, though the cabin was full. Rebecca scoffed. I booked this specific seat. I will not be inconvenienced. Fine, let her stay. But keep her away from me and my belongings. She said the last word while glaring pointedly at her designer bag. She then proceeded to create a fortress of her things on the empty seat between them, placing her bag, a blanket, and a file folder as a barrier. The message was clear. You are a contaminant. Maya said nothing. She simply put her earbuds back in, but the music was off. She stared at her tablet, the words on adrenal crisis blurring as hot, shameful tears pricked her eyes. She focused on her breathing, on the engraved words on the stethoscope case in her bag. Heal with love, Dad. She would not let this woman see her cry. The plane took off. Andrew's cries subsided into a whimper, then an unsettling quiet. Rebecca, oblivious, worked on her laptop, typing emails about border security and fiscal responsibility. Occasionally she'd glance at Andrew, give him a perfunctory pat, and return to her screen. There was no singing, no playful interaction, just a mechanical checkbox parenting. Maya, from behind the barrier of hoodie and pretended absorption, observed. The medical part of her brain, trained by years with her father, went on alert. The infant was too listless. His skin had a slight grayish pallor. His weak cries earlier weren't just of irritation. They sounded strained. She remembered a case study, lethargy and poor feeding, preceding acute collapse in undiagnosed Addison's disease. She shook her head. She was being ridiculous. She was just a kid who didn't belong. About an hour into the flight, as Chloe served beverages, it happened. Rebecca was attempting to give Andrew a bottle of juice. He turned his head away, made a small choking sound, and then his entire body went floppy. The bottle clattered to the floor. Andrew? Rebecca shook him gently. Then harder. Andrew, wake up! Her voice shifted from annoyance to panic in a millisecond. She pressed her fingers to his neck. His lips, already pale, were now turning a definite dusky blue. His chest was still. A raw, guttural scream tore from Rebecca's throat. My baby, someone help my baby. He's not breathing! The cabin erupted. The businessman dropped his whiskey. The elderly woman began praying loudly. Chloe rushed over, her training kicking in, but her face pale with fear. Is there a doctor on board? We need a doctor immediately. Rebecca was hysterical, shaking Andrew, screaming his name. Her politician's poise utterly shattered, replaced by the primal terror of a mother watching life leave her child. It was in this maelstrom of noise and fear that Maya Washington moved. She removed her earbuds. She placed her tablet on her seat. She stood up. Her movement was calm, deliberate, a stark contrast to the chaos. She stepped around the barrier of belongings Rebecca had erected. I can help him, Maya said, her voice not loud, but it cut through the cacophony with surprising clarity. Rebecca's tear-blurred vision found her. For a second there was only confusion. Then recognition dawned, and with it, a resurgence of that earlier, profound hatred now twisted with terror. Her face contorted. You? Don't you dare touch my son. Get away from us. She clutched the lifeless child to her chest, as if Maya's gaze alone was a threat. We need a real doctor, not some ghetto child playing dress-up. This last word was spat out like venom. Chloe froze, looking helplessly between them. But Maya didn't flinch. She looked directly at the flight attendant, her voice dropping into a tone of absolute authority that no 12-year-old should possess. Ma'am, he is in acute respiratory distress, likely due to an adrenal crisis. He has maybe 90 seconds before sustained hypoxic brain injury. I'm a pediatric medical researcher. My bag contains a stethoscope and I am familiar with emergency protocols for this condition. You need to decide now. Chloe stared into Maya's eyes and saw no panic, only fierce, knowledgeable certainty. She made a decision. Do it, she said to Maya. Then she turned to Rebecca, her voice firm. Senator, let her help, now! Something broke in Rebecca, the sight of her son's blue lips, the flight attendant's command. The sheer desperation of the moment overrode a lifetime of prejudice. A sob racked her body as her arms uncoiled, presenting Andrew. Maya took him, her small arms cradling him with expert care. She laid him flat on the empty seat. "My backpack, please," she said to Chloe, who swiftly handed it over. Maya unzipped it, pulled out the silver case, and snapped it open. The stethoscope seemed too large for her, but she placed the chest piece on Andrew with practiced ease. Her eyes closed in concentration. She listened, faint, thready. She checked his pupils, dilated. She looked up. "He's in shock. Adrenal insufficiency. I need the onboard emergency medical kit. It should have hydrocortisone sodium succinate." A doctor, a man in his 50s who had hurried from economy, arrived at the curtain. "I'm a doctor." "What's the—" He stopped, taking in the scene. The infamous senator weeping on her knees, a preteen girl with a stethoscope assessing an infant, and a flight attendant rummaging through a medical kit. Maya didn't look up. Infant, approximately 11 months, presenting with acute onset cyanosis, respiratory arrest and prior lethargy. "I suspect undiagnosed Addisonian crisis. I need to administer hydrocortisone IV if possible, IM if not. Dosage for 8 kilos. The doctor, Dr. Aris, was stunned into silence for a second. Then his training took over. He knelt beside her. "You're correct. That's the primary intervention." He checked Andrew's vitals with his own stethoscope, his face grim. "He's crashing. Do you know the procedure? I've practiced the procedure on simulation dummies under supervision at Houston Methodist 73 times. Maya stated, her fingers already preparing the vial Chloe had handed her. Her hands were rock steady. Dr. Aris nodded, guiding her through the precise drawing of the medication and finding a viable injection site on the tiny limp limb. The entire cabin was silent, watching this child perform a medical miracle under pressure. Maya administered the injection. Then they waited, the longest 8 minutes of Rebecca Hartwell's life. She knelt on the floor, her face buried in the leather of the seat, her body trembling with silent sobs. Every vile word she had uttered echoed in her mind, a torturous loop. "You're kind. Steal from us. Ghetto child." She dared to look up. Maya was holding Andrew's hand, 2 fingers on his tiny wrist, monitoring his pulse. Her face a portrait of intense, compassionate focus. "Heal with love." The engraving on the case flashed in Rebecca's mind. Time stretched. Then a sound. A small cough-like gasp. Andrew's chest rose, fell, rose again more strongly. A healthy, angry cry filled the silent cabin. The blue receded from his lips, replaced by a rosy pink. Color flooded back into his skin. Dr. Aris let out a huge breath. "Vital signs stabilizing. Good God, you did it, young lady. You saved his life." He looked at Maya with undisguised awe. Maya finally sagged, the adrenaline draining. She gently placed the stethoscope back in its case, her fingers tracing the engraving. It was over. Chloe brought a blanket and oxygen, which Dr. Aris administered. Andrew, exhausted but alert, looked around with wide eyes. Rebecca stumbled forward, her arms outstretched. Maya carefully placed the now crying, healthy infant into his mother's arms. Rebecca clutched him, weeping openly, covering his face in kisses, murmuring his name. For a full minute, she just held him, feeling the life thrumming back into his body. Then she looked up. Her eyes found Maya, who was quietly repacking her backpack, the ordinary-looking girl once more. The barrier of belongings was still on the seat between them, a monument to her own bigotry. Rebecca Hartwell, senior United States Senator, known for her unyielding, divisive rhetoric, did something then that no political opponent, no scandal, no crisis had ever made her do. She gently placed Andrew back in his seat, secured him, and then she turned. She lowered herself from her seat until her knees touched the floor of the aircraft aisle. She placed her hands together in front of her, and she bowed her head. The cabin watched, breathless. The word was a croak. She tried again, tears streaming down her face. Her makeup ruined, her power gone, leaving only a humbled woman. "I'm so sorry." Her voice broke. "I'm so terribly, unforgivably sorry. You saved my son's life. And I treated you like garbage. I judged you. I hated you for nothing, for everything you are that I am not. Please," her shoulders shook, "please forgive me. I don't deserve it, but please." Maya looked at the woman on her knees. She saw the raw, shattered humanity there. She thought of her father's words. Medicine is the science of healing, but the art of it is forgiveness. She nodded slowly. I forgive you, she said softly, but don't ever do that to another person again. Your words are weapons. You almost used yours on your own son. Rebecca crumpled, her forehead touching the cool floor, weeping in relief and shame. The 8 minutes were up. The senator was on her knees, begging for and receiving forgiveness from the brilliant child she had thrown hatred upon. And as the plane flew on towards Boston, a different kind of silence settled in first class. One not of privilege, but of profound shared grace. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories for more powerful narratives of humanity. A new story is coming soon.